Happy Monday, everybody. Sam Shapiro back here, starting your week off right with more of your Heat latest on FanArc. We're well over 200 subs now. Thanks so much for all the support, but don't forget to drop a like on this video and tell your friends to subscribe as well. Drew Smith is staying in Miami. The team announcing Saturday they'd be re-signing the young guard to a 3-year deal worth $7.9 million. And it's very promising to see Miami have confidence in Smith and hopefully his ability to come and be able to contribute over the course of the next 3 seasons. This first year fully guaranteed, at least the money involved is guaranteed. And I just think that if Smith can stay healthy, he will definitely be a contributing guard in this rotation just because of defensively. I think he's a very his ability to pickpocket the ball from players, especially while they're driving the basket, I think is stellar. And I just think he's in terms of a point guard, he's very good at stealing the ball, and he's a strong player defensively, which can definitely help fix some kinks in the armor for Miami in the grand scheme of things. So I'm excited to see Miami want to re-sign him and, announcing that they were going to be giving him this opportunity. Drop in the comments how you think Drew Smith is going to play over the course of this year, especially over the, having to overcome not just a torn ACL, but an Achilles tendon tear as well. I mean, those are two of some of the worst injuries, any athlete really could face. And the fact that he was able to overcome both, and he's going to be suiting up for Miami this year, and it really looks like Miami is confident that he will be able to not just take the floor and stay healthy, but he'll be able to contribute to this team. Signing him to a 3-year contract versus just maybe 2 or 1 years kind of speaks more of those volumes to me. Kind of just on the outside looking in. I obviously don't know what goes in between what is really being said in those meetings or those, the contract negotiations, but I definitely think that signing him to a deal like that speaks volumes that they believe in him and that they believe he can stay healthy, and they're supporting him at least every step of the way while he kind of continues to bounce back from the now Achilles tendon tear. But drop in the comments how you think Drew Smith's going to play this year. I think defensively, he could definitely contribute to this Miami team going forward, and I'm hoping that he can stay healthy because I think if he can play, he will fix some of the kinks in the armor that Miami is especially experiencing on the defensive side of the ball. But talking about another player that was going through injuries and procedures and recoveries over the last week, Haywood Highsmith is now headed to Brooklyn. He got traded for a protected second-round pick, but Miami also sending another pick in 2032 with Highsmith to Brooklyn in that deal. The full extent of that deal was Haywood Highsmith and a 2032 second-round pick sent to Brooklyn in exchange for a protected 2026 second-round pick. So in my opinion, yeah, it's a protected pick, but it's a second-round pick. You kind of just traded Highsmith for a bag of chips, and I mean that's really how I'm looking at it. It was really, Miami traded I initially remember seeing the alert and going, we really just traded Highsmith for a bag of chips. But I mean, who knows what that second round pick will turn into next year? I'm not saying we're going to get Nikola Jokic, but who knows at this point? Honestly, I don't think it was the worst thing in the world, but just because you are shaving $10 million off with that, with getting rid of Highsmith, and maybe that was why they were able to. Maybe that was why then they decided later to sign or extend Drew Smith, because now that cap space kind of was kind of sort of used for the same thing. You're shaving roughly $10-11 million, sending Highsmith to Brooklyn. So then signing Smith on a roughly $8 million deal. Yeah, you're saving $4 million, and you're still keeping another young guard that can hopefully contribute to this team. And considering both were in a similar position where they were both now working back from major injuries, I don't think it was necessarily the worst thing in the world. You still are getting a little bit of draft capital. Them giving up a pick much, much later down the line versus getting a pick that can kind of maybe help fix certain situations like in more recent coming up years. But personally, I looked at this trade and went, I didn't think it was a great move, and I kind of thought Miami was trading Highsmith for a bag of chips in the grand scheme of things. So drop in the comments if you think this was a good deal for Miami. you know, they were at least very supportive of Highsmith while he was going through his injury, while he went through his procedure, all that kind of stuff. But a little bit interesting to see them talk about, how he got injured, worked through that, and then just not even a week later, just deciding, all right, we're shipping him off to Brooklyn. See ya. So drop in the comments if you think that was a good trade on Miami's part or not. I don't think it was the best trade ever. I don't think it was like catastrophically horrible and that Miami is losing a major piece of their roster, but I don't think this was definitely one of their better moves, so to speak. I think it was kind of fine. You're saving $4 million, but at that point, it's not really going to, I don't really think $4 million is going to help you add another guy or another piece to the rotation that could make things exponentially better than what it was before. But, again, I didn't think it was necessarily the greatest trade in the world. It's kind of just one of those trades where I was like, oh, all right, I guess that's another part of the rotation that's gone, but it is what it is. Now Brooklyn's going to have to pay him $11 million, I believe, over 2 years. But, that's, I guess, one less player that will have to, or that's one less player that Miami, is not going to have to, hopefully bank on when they come back, that they're the same version of themselves or even better. So I guess in that regard, maybe they were helping themselves in that sense, but I don't know. I kind of liked Highsmith, and I had some high hopes for him coming into this season that he was going to be a solid player in the rotation, but I guess now he'll be a solid part of Brooklyn's rotation going forward. But another guard that Miami was also kind of looking at earlier this week, I believe on Wednesday, was Ethan Thompson, the former guard that was on the Osceola Magic, who was kind of a standout for them. Miami signing him to a 10-day exhibition deal, and I really like this dude. I think he's a solid sharpshooter, averaging around 18 to 22 points per game during his time in the G League with the Magic, and I think that Miami really making some moves on these exhibition 10 guys, and definitely going to be some good competition in training camp, and it's going to be very exciting really to see who out of all of these guys that we've kind of talked about on the channel before are going to make that final roster or get a more solidified deal that keeps them on the roster long term in the grand scheme of things. But I definitely think Thompson is pretty solid. Officially getting signed to that deal last Wednesday. He's a 6'5" point guard, which again, Miami always be finding just like very I feel like bigger in terms of like the frames of some of these players, just like Myron Gardner we were talking about, a 6'6", like 2-3 player, big guy. I think, for a point guard, 6'5" is pretty tall. But the season in the 2 seasons, there was one season with the Magic this past year, I believe he averaged 18 points per game, shooting about 40% from 3 on roughly 8 made threes a game, which is pretty efficient. And then the season before that, so last season he averaged 18 points per game, about 5 rebounds and 3 assists. And then the season before that, he averaged 22 points per game, 5 assists and 4 rebounds. But that was with the Mexico City Capitanes. I might have botched that. Sorry about that. But in the grand scheme of things, he is a G League standout. He's a baller, at least at that level, and hopefully he could. I don't want to say, he can come and bring that to Miami, but depending on how training camp goes, if he gels with the team pretty well. But I definitely think that he's a pretty solid. He could be a solid addition, at least in the point guard position. It's so interesting how many point guard type of players Miami had really been experiencing over or has really kind of been rotating through this offseason. And it's funny because while they haven't made a lot of transactions, they've been doing a lot of drafting in terms of looking at potential prospects that could be a Cinderella fit. And they're very picky, and I like it. I really like it because the guys they do bring in usually end up being pretty solid. I mean, there have been scenarios where it hasn't been. Victor Oladipo, Terry Rozier are just, two to kind of, name off the top of my head. But I definitely think that Miami is picky, and I like it. And even, whether Ethan Thompson gets signed or not, drop in the comments, or Ethan Thompson, excuse me. Whether he gets signed or not, I'm not sure if that will be the case or not, but drop in the comments if you think the G League star guard, I'm calling him a star guard, would be a good addition to this Miami team. I think if he is the player he was on Osceola, he definitely could be, at least in Miami, but only time will tell, and we'll just have to wait and see if he gets that full-time offer. But now, speaking of another established guard on this team that I feel like I talk about at least almost every episode at this point, Tyler Herro is definitely a top 10 shooting guard in the NBA. There was a list I saw from Hype Hoops from this week that, Hoops Hype, excuse me, had this list. Top 10 shooting guards in the NBA right now. They had Tyler Herro placed 6th on their list. The 5 guards ahead of him, Devin Booker, Jaylen Brown, Jalen Williams, Donovan Mitchell, and the number 1 being Anthony Edwards. I would honestly agree that Anthony Edwards is definitely the best raw shooting guard in the NBA right now, giving, remnants of a Dwayne Wade type of player especially in 2009. He gives 2009 Dwayne Wade to me, Anthony Edwards, but he's also just like an incredible shooter. I think his deep range shooting is a little bit better than Dwayne Wade's was, but the athleticism, the tenacity, the ferocity that he plays with, it's all there. He's an absolute dog. But we're not here to talk about Anthony Edwards. We're here to talk about Tyler Herro. Unfortunately, I do think Donovan Mitchell and Jalen Williams and Jaylen Brown are better than Tyler Herro, just because I feel like their games are a little bit more complete. Tyler Herro, offensively, definitely on par with a lot of those guys, but defensively, I do not think he is, and that's why I would put those 4 guards above him. Devin Booker, kind of, sort of, also in the same scenario, but I don't know. Devin Booker has also had an opportunity he's only had 1 opportunity to win a ring, and he didn't get it done. Tyler Herro's, had 2, but also hasn't gotten it done. But Devin Booker, not the strongest defensive player either. I think they're both comparable, actually. More like, the more I think about it, the more I realize they're very similar players. Both Kentucky guards, both lottery picks in the draft, both absolute buckets on offense, just very good at scoring the basketball. And defensively, just those are kind of the only not perfect things about their game, but because of how efficient they are offensively, that's what makes them shine and are regarded so highly in terms of being an all-star. The other guards that Herro beat on this top 10 list, Ahmed Thompson is 7, Josh Hart 8, Austin Reeves 9, and then Zach LaVine rounding out the top 10. I definitely think he's better than all 4 of those guards, absolutely, at least at this point in time. Austin Reeves and Josh Hart, definitely some gritty players, I think, but can't score the ball the way Herro can, in my opinion. So drop in the comments if you think Herro, placed as the 6th best shooting guard in the NBA right now, is a fair assessment in terms of those 5 guards being better than him or not. I think you could kind of interchange Booker and Herro, but, I don't know. I just think that in terms of where Herro is placed, it's a pretty decent spot. I think it's pretty fair, and I would definitely say he's a top 10 shooting guard in the NBA. So I'm glad he was at least included in that list. That's going to wrap up today's episode of Your Heat Latest on FanArc. Once again, don't forget to drop a like on this video and, of course, subscribe to our channel. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Sam Shapiro. Have a great Monday.